Okay, you're going to hear Alexa going off here once in a while. And by the way, thank you so much for joining on a Saturday. We're going to get started now. Um, this is being recorded, but not with any names or visuals and all that, because there are a few people that just can't join. Well, I won't mention, but one student just finished with open heart surgery. So we've had some, and this is a no judgment class. If somebody has some problems, just say, hey, I'll rejoin later. I'll connect with my team because most folks are working adults in military service, have kids, a lot on the remote stuff. It's wonderful because we're all colleagues. We all jobs and busy lives. So thank you very much. Also, it's all informal. If you hear my parrot or my daughter or wife in the background, or if I hear, your dog or your cat, it's all good. In fact, as you get to know your teams and as you go along, you'll find that it becomes a lot less formal. And I've got on text where people are sharing their pets and their stories, and these teams last forever. This is not like a CLC like you've been in the past, where um, one person does all the work and four people just go along for the ride. That does not work here. In fact, it's just much better and just the opposites. At teams, this course becomes really easy and easy straight A's in this course if you work together because we structured a lot different. Now, I hope you can all see my screen here. Let me know if you can't. But this is just our basic topic one. And I'm going to just show you the interface, a few tips about the sim, and take some of the mystery out of the sim. Now, there's down here in class, when you go to the sim, you've done this before, you click on class class resources here, and it'll take you to Mega Learning Sim, just like when you registered and you click View Resource. And that will take you back to the interface for the sim. And in your case, this is all instructor interfaces, so some of it's different. But in your case, you'll land on, let me see if I can find this, land on something that looks like this, which is Welcome Red Team. And this is the first thing you'll see on your dashboard. This is the dashboard of the sim itself. You're on Harvard as soon as you click that link. Now, before, when you saw it, it just said, sorry, it's not ready. That's because everyone hadn't registered. Now everyone has. I will be opening the sim up after this meeting. You can't do this right now, but I want to do the onboarding first just to let everybody know. Until if there's some of your members of the team that don't show up and they watch the recording or not, help your teammates to make sure they understand this because there's more resources than when you see this dashboard. When you go back to your actual topic one interface, you'll see there's under those under those class resources. Let's go. Where are we at? Oh, we're still in introduction. Let's go back to class resources. You'll see, even though this is how you get into that, you'll see the strategy guide. Um, in week two coming up next week, you have an agreement form that you have to do on CLC. Working together, this is the form. This is nothing. This is just, and a lot of these things you see look like they're a big deal. They're not. You can just text each other, say, do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? And one of you, validator or anyone else, can just post in CLC, yeah, we all agreed. Here's the form. There's not a lot. The reason they do this, why do they do, I agree to the CLC? It's nothing. It looks legal, but it's nothing. It's just really to test to see that everyone's can connect to and has registered and can actually use the CLC. Now, CLC itself is very, very different than you've ever had before because our meetings happen with text and on Zooms that you set up. You can set up a Discord or with whatever you want, but the Zooms work the best. The teams basically organize themselves. Every one of you will be taking a car line as a CEO of a car line, and I'll get into that more. This is a simulated auto manufacturer, which is what the sim is, but it's generic financially. In other words, it could easily be an AI CapEx type situation from the headlines today. You'll be going through the same thing that Larry Ellison is going through with Oracle right now with CapEx, and it's very, very germane and relevant, which is why at the end of the class, everybody gets recommendations. If you need references, I'll do that too, because it really will help your future, whether you're starting your own business, looking for a promotion, getting into a new field, graduating, and wanting to use. Your teams will go on forever, and this experience will last forever. This is taken by executives all over the world. I took it with, you can see I'm old if you can see the video. I'm ancient. I took it with Michael Porter. It was a software, not an automotive, originally, and it's helped me through my master's, several doctorates, all my CEO of a billion-dollar company. It's taken me through my whole career and been wonderful, and the connections also. I've had students over the many years now taking the sim who say, it's you won't believe this, coach. I was in an interview and I mentioned the sim as part of my background, and that person also had taken the sim at a different school, and we just talked, and it was like an instant connection, and they ended up getting the job. But it can really help your career going forward because you are running a real business. This is the end of flight school and starting to fly the jet, and you'll see it's really complicated, fun, interesting. But there's three aspects to the sim. There's mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics, and those come from game programming. Mechanics are, how do you use this thing? How do I get in? What do I do? What's the decision? All that stuff. The the dynamics are getting in and having fun, making the decisions, competing with the other team, seeing what your customers wants, making decisions on your car lines and all that. And that's where you really learn. So we try to get over these mechanics. Text me if there's any issues, but there's a lot of videos. When you go down here in this resource list, you'll see things like what's the interface? What is a decision process? These are all YouTubes on their channel, on the learning channel. I encourage you to binge watch these if you've got a couple hours. Some of them are short, some are longer. You just have to get the feel for what is this in. This helps a lot. And if one of you does it, then share it with the rest of your team. The teams are completely open. I said earlier, and I'll double down on this, you cannot take this class and not participate in the sim because more than half the grade, in other words, failing the grade comes from your peer reviews and your teams talking to each other. So if some of you are used to, as I have been in other groups, I'm working on another PhD right now, and it's the same thing I'm going through as you are. You'll have a group thing, and a couple of the people just do nothing, try to go along for the ride. That won't work here. Because if you try that, it'd be better to drop the class and then go a time where you can participate because your peers are going to review you, and it'll be really clear because you can also do all of the assignments as a team. Now, this is optional. You take the team and you organize it any way you want. You can have a CEO. I mean, our validator is my main connection with your team. I'll be in your text groups. If you set up Zooms, I'll jump in and out. But I'm not allowed to guide you in those discussions. We're colleagues and those are your teams. So if you want to pick a CEO, if someone's really good at finance, you want to have a CFO, that's fine. But a minimum, there are 4 car lines. And you'll see this in all the slides I posted on Halo, but also in the videos. And there's also, you should make a note of this, there's another YouTube channel called at Model Sim Professor, and that's on YouTube. So he put the at sign and then Model Sim Professor. It's Paul Waterman, our course lead, who invented this 15 years ago or brought it to GCU, and myself, and we made a lot of different videos before decision one, before decision two, before decision three, those kind of videos. And let's jump back to the interface here, if I can find it, where we're landing pages. So what happens is there are basically there are 5 decisions. Your first decision is in week 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 are the next 4. But what makes it really easy, and I'll just be straight about this. And by the way, if you have any questions, jump in at any time. Usually folks don't have questions because it's so confusing right now that I run through the usual questions that everybody asks. But there is just it's so overwhelming right now. But I sometimes we start this with the previous validator. I didn't have time to do this because the other class just ended, and my other validator that was going to do it ended up in a brand new job and moving and all that. But they usually jump on and say, I was completely overwhelmed at the beginning of this, and by the end it was a riot and it was fun. The reason is decision 1 and decision 5 to start with of the 5 decisions are really easy. Decision 1, you don't know anything. You have no customer feedback yet. You don't know what sliders are. You're just trying your best. You're doing some random stuff. You studied your car line, but you don't know it. The way the decision process works, and this is why you have to have meetings. I don't care if you have 25-minute meetings or half the classes on text. You organize it the way you want. Or if everybody's working during the week or off a weekend and only can get together on a Saturday, you have to validate Friday of every week. So week 3, topic 3, by that Friday, you have to make your decisions and validate them, meaning we've made our decision, here you go, click, the validator clicks one click and it says, that's it, that's your decision. What is a decision? You can watch the video and learn, but all it really is you go on, I'll show you this in a second, but you just make decisions on your budgets and your car lines and your marketing. The iteration process is each of you need to take time studying your car line, whether you have a low cost family, eco, or image. Low cost is a low cost car that families like and it's not expensive and all the other features in it are not needed. And you'll see how these sliders work and how you do that. The the key to the whole sim, especially the first decision, is do not make big changes. You start out all even at the same stuff. If you have sliders in the middle, and I'll show those in a second, don't jump way out to a 9. Also, the price elasticity of demand in this sim is huge. So if you want to make a price change, make it minus a buck or plus a buck or a euro or whatever it is. My hat says ROCE. I don't know if you can see it. That's return on capital employed. It's my tradition to wear it because it's the metric I really like. But you can see the various metrics up here on your dashboard. There's emission. There's 6 things that you're judged by to decide where you are. By the way, red team is first here. Obviously, this is the previous sim because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decisions. This is not your interface. I'll show you yours in a second. There'll be nothing on it, but you can see the places changed here. Red started out everyone starts in the same place, obviously. Blue took it all, was winning it all. Red dropped down to yellow, died, and then all of a sudden, yellow figured something out about lost overs or inventory and took it over. And it went back and forth like that. You can get an A plus plus in this class and still crash and burn at the end like yellow did. It's not a problem. The final presentation isn't how did you do on the sim, although you get a lot more points. You do get 80 points, which is nice when you're doing better. You might get 75 if you're last, but you're still not going to blow an A by blowing the sim. What you need to do is learn what is going on with all these factors and these gears interchanging from accounting to finance to economics to marketing and see all the parts that work together, especially leverage, operating leverage and financial leverage, which is very hot right now in AI. They can't figure out CapEx. It relates to cash flow, and they're looking at trillions of investments with a return in 2035. So they're saying, how do we do these data centers and do this like Oracle did in Malaysia and still have a stock that's viable? And that happens in the sim totally. So you are running an AI company just as well as a car company. And of course, you can also be running Tesla. That's fine. I hope one of you do someday because AI is getting into everything. But when you see this, this landing page doesn't mean a lot. You're going to jump right away up to decision on the upper right here. You can see there's a lot of little places you can click here. And all you really need to look here is kind of at the bottom where it says financial indices. This will show you how things are going. And for instance, your gas price index might start at $2. The image line of cars is a Ferrari. They don't care about how many dealerships are around, but they do care about gas price. So demand will drop if it goes from $2 to 4. In the sim, it only goes from $2 to maybe this is the max it went to, and it only took a little nick out of image. So let's jump to decisions here to show you basically what decisions are like. Um, where are we here? Okay, so validate. The validators just click validate. And when it's time to send the results, you'll see your final budget of all the decisions you made, and you say, are you ready? And then you go send your decision. That's all a validator does. But the iteration process is, I will take care of this the first thing, the first decision. When it comes to, like, for instance, cash flows, if your cash at the end of the period is below zero, it won't validate. So I'm going to start by giving you each a loan so you don't need a government loan, or even if you have negatives because of facility investments, I'll not let you crash and burn to the extent where you can't validate. The other thing you won't be able to validate, there's only two things, is if one of the sliders is set to zero instead of, let me show you the sliders. So that's just validate. Only the validator will have to do that. There's all kinds of other things within markets. You'll see all kinds of and there's tiny things here where you can actually click and see all of your competitors' statistics for this, for their markets, what they're doing, their financials, and everything else. You can see the different companies, and it'll show the teams. And look at when you look at company here. Remember this. Now you'll forget probably within a few days, but I'll keep on reminding you of this. This is a public company. You can see all your financials, your competitors' finances. On top of that, I'm one of the only few instructors that give you everything. I'll give you all the details. Everybody else, they expect in a 10-week course for you to do your own number crunching, figure out what your operating leverage, all that stuff. No way. I'm giving you all the financials for you and the other teams, which will make it easier on your final presentation in topic 8, where you just pull the graphics. You don't have to do any work. You pull all the ones you've seen through the whole thing and then put it into your slides for the final presentation. Here in this little link, it says other teams. So this is where you go to see the other teams' financials on top of the ones I'm going to be sending you. The most important thing, of course, is your decision, and there's two levels of decisions. There's corporate and business lines. So you have to, what you do is you look at this individually, don't make changes by yourself, and study it with the other car lines and your car lines. So that week you have to look at just one aspect of, let's say, eco, if you have eco, or family, if you have family. Then you bring it back to your meeting after your whole group meeting, your team meeting, and you work together and you say, here's my sliders in my line. This is what I want to do. Your validator, your CEO, your CFO, I'll say, yeah, you move the sliders around for your particular business line. You look at corporate and you say, oh no, we blew our total budget. We have to back off on some things. So it's an iterative process, just like running a company. If you make small changes and if you don't invest in enough in CapEx, you're going to find out you can't make enough. And EBIT in this is driven by lost orders over inventory, meaning if you make a lot but you don't sell it, you're not marketing right, you're going to build inventory just like a real company. If you do great marketing and you get a ton of orders and you don't make enough, those orders aren't booked as sales. So in the US, when we book a sale, it's called a delivery. So you can't make those deliveries and you'll get lost orders. You'll lose all those orders and that'll eat your cash flow up. And so CapEx is at the center of this because it says, how much do we invest in a facility? And there's all kinds of slides I put in Halo about the formula for that. You'll pick it up really quickly. The other thing is on Model Sim Professor, there's a lot of videos. You can just pick through there. There's hundreds, but there's one called, and I'll put links in Halo for this. There's one called 100 Slides in 20 Minutes or something. It's got all of these slides I've been posting that show you the basic kind of what is the sim, what are you looking at, what are the decisions, and that kind of stuff. And very quickly then you get an idea for, oh, this is what's going on market-wise, financially, etc. It's given to you. The other thing is you're going to see, I mean, you saw this in the Halo thing, in the interface. Let's go back to topic 1. You saw this. This looks particularly insane and ridiculous. All these are required reading resources. You've got papers to do. You've got exams to take. It's like, this is impossible. I cannot do this course. None of that is valid in this course. This is totally different. We've been absolved of APA references, of scholarships, of 1,300-page reports. Forget all that. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm working on another doctorate, and it's all scholarship. You have to have a citation for every sentence, okay? So scholarship is of value, but this is a business strategy course. You're presenting to your board. When you have to do a slide presentation, I don't want 10 slides with references. It's like, oh, we're going to do good this week. This is the projection because Bandura 2023 says. That's not how it works in business. I want 3 crisp slides with some graphics and your explanation down to earth of what's going on. And same things with the final presentation. Don't overstress about this. The one thing that says required that's good is the strategy guide. It's Hit Ireland, which is the best business strategy guide ever written. And this is custom written by Paul for you because as you go through it, it's got sim tips in it. Same thing with everything else in this course. If you do benchmarks, you have to turn individually, right? So if you've got this 10-page paper, 5-page paper that's supposedly due, you can work on it as a team. Each of you take a page or a slide and then all turn in the same thing. This is unlike any other CLC or course. You can work as teams on anything. Now, that is not forced. That is the decision of your team. And if you say, yeah, you take this part, you take this, and I'll say 99% of the people do. Once in a while, in a very great while, we have a team that's not as functional, and there's 3 people that are doing a lot and a couple of people that aren't, and they say we want to do this individually, or the 3 of us want to work because those people haven't showed up. You've got to show up for your team meetings because as you go forward, and if you don't, and you can work on text to make this work with your team. All right, I can't do it on Saturday, I'll do it Monday. Let's do it late at night. I'll tell you, half the texts are real life of trying to get together in a meeting. And I have worked remote in CFO positions where you're not even there. So texting is everything. You're getting the meetings together, and that's the way the world is today. You may end up in a remote job, making 300 grand a year, but you're sitting at your computer. It's like strange the way the world is going, but this is real life. So with your teams, if you make it easy on yourselves. I've told many people many times. I've had people join from the cockpit of a jet. I've had a woman who's a sergeant lieutenant came out in the middle of the desert in Afghanistan and said, "What are you doing on a sat phone at 2 a.m. outside your tent?" And she said, "I'm on sim for my class." I mean, I have someone flying from Ramstein to London on a plane, and they were on their military laptop doing the sim. So, and we have people from all over the world, people in Bolivia, Brazil, India, students all over that have been in these classes. So it's not all as easy to make it work. The good side of this class is it's mostly adult students with a lot of experience. I had a CFO of a county in Florida who took this sim on our MBA side. And I mean, she like ran the class. She's way smarter than I will ever be in finance and economics. So use the talents of your team, work together, and this, I'm not grading this. I'm not watching over your shoulder. I mean, we see everybody who visits, they send us all these metrics. Did they look at this? Did they look at that? I ignore all that. It's like, how are the teams doing? Same thing with your discussion questions. You do have to post something 6 times a week. And this is Saturday. If you haven't now, it's supposed to be, 3 different days, 4 different days. Look, do 5 tonight and I'll give you, okay. They don't have to be 20 questions. Your discussion questions don't have to be 5 paragraphs. Make it a few short paragraphs on what happened in the sim that week. Comment on one of your colleagues, in the text or in your response to that discussion question. Hey, we did this in the sim, whatever, that was cool. Um, you'll see as you go on, you don't want to be posting strategy of your team to the other teams. Even though I'm giving the financials, you'll see that it does get really competitive by the end of the decisions. Again, decision one is just get together a short time, figure out what you want to do, try to work the sliders, and make your first decision, check the budgets, and then decision 2, 3, and 4 are fun and real because you know enough to make mistakes. You can see all the feedback from your groups, etc. Let's go to business lines here before corporate. This is the business lines, and these are the 4. These are your decisions. You'll see this on the video if you look at it. There's a huge cheat here, and there's all kinds of cheats. I'll be sending them to you in Halo. Focus on the sim and make this course easy. Deal with your team, cut up the work, and when you have a benchmark, 1,300, whatever word, 10-page, some kind of an assignment, um, either break it into pieces or make it about the sim. I don't want to see all kinds of, now there's research and everybody's going to do things like, why did Blockbuster fail? Or you can pick another company if you want to. What was the one that Ernest did? It's like something about toilets or something. I don't know. I've seen some wonderful ones already. I love to see off the wall ones. By the way, AI is 100% valid and used as much as you want to use it here. Use AI for everything. If you're looking for, um, gee, coach wants an idea, or this assignment says, give me an example of a company that went bad because of operating leverage. Ask AI, look it up, then do research and use that. I'm not saying go post AI as your decision because that's not going to work. AI doesn't get this stuff. And to get a good answer out of AI, and I do this all the time with my MBA students, is you do more work to use AI sometimes than just coming up with it yourself. Get some references, look at those, because AI going back and forth when it gets everything wrong and figuring that out can be harder. But if and also the sim doesn't help you because 80% of the AI references go to our Paul and my site. It's hilarious. The student said, "Well, we asked about MegaSim and said, what do we do? Here's our situation." And they referred us to your site. I'm like, well, yeah, there's just not that much out there on the sim that gives it away because it's inside of the model, inside of Harvard. So all those cheats are, and you do have a cheat sheet on the right side of resources. You have a logbook that you have to turn in an annex on decisions 3, 4, and 5, just 3 of them. All the annex is the logbook that you turn in CLC. When it says decision, and if it's 0 points, ignore that. I mean, some people won't do something at 0 points. This is a relay race. You are getting 160 points for those 0 points. They end load it because they give you time to ramp up, and the points are later, so they're not killing you in the beginning. Why we made 0 points to start, but it's just important that you do those decisions and get going in decision 1. And decision 5 is easy because something happens I won't mention on inventory. You could find out on the website, but don't waste your time. The one, you don't know enough, so just do the sliders, don't make big changes. How do you know what to do in these things? Well, all of the education and learning is about the value chain, which is what value chain and value proposition is what strategy is all about today. So if you don't know what contribution margin is and you don't know how to price compared to what customers want, you'll know at the end of the sim because you get great feedback on how to do it. Financial leveraging is just debt over equity. And you can go up to 60% just like Oracle has, and it won't kill you as long as you're above break even a little bit. If you're below break even and you just go for a revenue play, every sale you make is going to lose you money. So that's something you have to watch because it's leverage. And that lever point of debt over equity is your break even or net present value. You'll see that right away. Where is our break even point? What do we need to do and to adjust to these lines to make money? You'll also see in the slides that you've got orders for. I posted this in Halo, not everyone's looked at it. Of these 4 car lines, low cost, family, eco, and image, family, and you've probably seen if you've looked at how far underwater you are in EBIT, family and or I mean low cost and eco are the dogs. They're the future stars, but they are bleeding money. Family and image are making a ton of money. They're more mature. They're your superstars. So I've had sims. You can do whatever you want in a sim. Play games, try something, see if it works or not. I have has teams that paid only by the end paid only depreciation on these 2 lines, closed the plants, kept the plant up so that it had employee morale didn't drop, but didn't. They made like 2 cars, and then all the other cars were in family and image. Others invested heavily in low cost, made it work. I will tell you one thing. Do not, God loves the planet. We love the planet. Green is great. Do not take a strategy of I'm going all in eco. I'm going to be the God's green earth lover car. I'm going to make this wonderful thing, put all the money into eco. I'm going to do heavy consumption, which means heavy gas efficiency. And find out that you put out 5,000, 10,000 of these. You've made so many that's got more pollution than the Ferrari does because they don't have as many. So this is real world. There's all kinds of tricks in it. You're starting with a turnaround. We have talked to the people at Harvard till we're blue in the face, Paul and I, about make this easier. This is ridiculous how bad they're inheriting. And they're like, no, it's real world. They're going to run into the recessions. They're going to run into gas prices. They're going to run into all kinds of stuff, just like AI is right now. And we want to see the pain of the real world of saying, what do we do to fix this? So apologies up front and don't expect too much starting. That's why I have an ROCE. You can get into positive ROC. Paul loves ARE, accumulated retained earnings, because all of you who know finance know that that's where you internally fund your company. You don't have to go for debt. ARE and AI is going to be 2040, you know. Yeah, I've been in computers since they were run by kerosene. You can tell I'm old, so I won't be around to see what happens with that. Nor will Paul. He's like, listen to the graybeards because they've been through all this stuff, but you're inheriting a wonderful world and a scary world of AI. So again, use it as much as you can, work with your teams, but divide up the work as much as you can. Each one will take one of these lines and learn what it's about. And then you make that decision yourself, who wants what. And then as you look at these decisions, right now in low cost, the low cost person will say, this is my engineering, and this is what I think a low cost vehicle should look like. These are the sliders. You'll see on yours are all set at 4. You can make them 3, 2, 1. You'll see nobody here, this is the winning team. Nobody has a 9 on this, right? But some of them are much higher. Robustness is really important for low cost. And that's a matrix, obviously. So when you study the materials, you start to learn what each car line wants as a car line manager, but also as a team. And you tell your team, here's what I've decided on for engineering or R&D, and here's what I've decided on for marketing. And marketing doesn't take a lot, but here is the biggest cheat and trick that will save you from ever class crashing and burning in this course. You get a white line. This white line, as the decision go forward, you won't have one now, but as you make these decisions, and by the way, this isn't a time series. This is not, these are qualities, not times. So this is these sliders down the bottom here. So you'll see what does, and every universe is different. In other words, in your universe, eco is really dying. In others, eco might be better, low cost is dying. So every universe, none are the same. So you can't, there are no cheats about the past teams. But this white line will help you as you make your decisions because this is what the customers want. Now, the trick, of course, nothing's that simple. The trick is it changes as the 3 teams invest. They want what you give them, and they can't want what they can't buy. So it's that sophisticated that actually adjusts both to supply and demand, lost orders, inventory, that kind of stuff, and economics and finance. But it's still really close. If you find yourself way up here in comfort, and you decided that low cost really wanted comfort, which costs a ton of money, and you find out that they want, and you made it a 7, and you find out they wanted a 4, you're going to lose a ton of money because the competitor is going to be down here closer. So obviously, this blue line is the last decision of the team that won. So this you'll see all over these sine curves up and down all over the place when you first start. By the end of this, you'll be so good at this and understanding how this works and all the mechanics, dynamics, and the finances that this is what it'll look like. I mean, look how incredible. They're over-investing in everything, okay? If they're right on the white line, this is under-investing. They wanted, what is this, performance? Yeah, they wanted more performance, and most people won't do a lot of performance. Now, in marketing, you look at dealerships, dealership proximity, and it's not as high as it would be in family. But look at image. Let's look at image and let's look at dealership proximity down here compared to everything else they're investing. Wow, why'd they only keep that at a 4 when they made purchasing experiences and that more better? And look at the overlay and image. Again, not a lot of deviation from the center. If someone starts jumping into 8s and 9s on one thing, they're going to see that but what you've learned is that image doesn't care about dealership proximity as much because you're going to go to California to buy a Ferrari. You don't want one on every corner, nor can every dealership offer that expensive a vehicle on every corner. So each one of them has their own things they like. Family loves dealership proximity, so you find it. Look at that! Wow, way up at 6. How do you know all this stuff? All these things are in the cheat sheets. They're all in the slides, and you don't have to all learn it all. One of you becomes expert in each one of those, and the iteration process is let's all make these slider decisions. You make the slider decisions, then let's look at our budgets of what those decisions did to our budgets, and you'll see things like over here like price. If you look at your competitors' prices and they say they're all $60 for family, a unit, or 60,000 or 60, whatever. These are all just unit numbers, euros, or whatever you want to call them. So if it's like 60 and you're at 62, if you make this 70, you're going to absolutely lose all your orders. Nobody will buy it because it'll be so high. The elasticity is so high. So don't forget to set your price. It has been set. We had one team one time where they did a great decision, everything worked, and they completely lost all their market share in family. Is this family? In family, yeah. And so it said, Coach, what happened? We're looking at the market shares. We're looking at all of the different, we're looking at the value chain. We're looking at what is our market share in engineering compared to the other companies. When you take this and you add, when you make consumption go way up like this, it changes. You see the effect it has on everything, on CapEx, whatever. So you can actually model within the model of what your decisions do. That's how sophisticated this is. And after all that, they said, Coach, you got to look into this, the back end, something's wrong. The back end is they priced it at zero. They had no price. And someone just accidentally hit the zero on that instead of the 6-0. And it just blew the whole thing. And it was just hilarious. It was funny. And nobody got penalized. It's like, hey, it's an accident. We all make mistakes and that can happen. It's a complicated interface. But then you have to, so when you look at this, you make your decisions as a team, each one of you give your recommendation, do it really quick, 10, 15 minutes, you got all this done. Then you have to iterate back, see what it did to budget to see are these indicators, and you can model this too. It won't let you go beyond. If you pick something too big on a budget decision, it'll say, no, you can't. We won't let you go that far. However, there's another whole thing place you have to go before you validate, which is corporate. This is a portfolio company. So now we've looked at every item in the portfolio. It could be an autonomous, this could be an AI company. One is an autonomous agent. Another one is a chatbot. Another, so you could have four of these lines. It's a portfolio, and it's the strategy is all portfolio management. So it's a strategy course. You go to corporate, and strategy, of course, is competition too. So you got that again, looking at what the other teams did. This is where you have to go to make sure you haven't blown your cash flow, and where you have to make your investments in CapEx and in plants. How much are you going to spend on your plants and CapEx? And there's a very important slide on that that shows a simple formula for CapEx. Everyone gets scared and gets messed up by this because it's like, why can't we figure this out? Let's see if I can find this. I'll show you this. Where are we? Go to here. Let's go to Calc Report, and you'll get one of these for every team. You'll see you start really high here. These are completely underwater for eco and or for low cost and for eco. Even low cost still hasn't broken above EBIT here with all three teams even by the end. You can see kind of why red did well and yellow died at the end because they made a big final investment in image and it died. Oh, by the way, these three are low cost, these three are family, these three are eco, and these are image. So to have eco all positive for all three teams is mind blowing. But you can see by the indecision, there's not that much variability here in EBIT. Did anybody ever on the six indicators ever get? They had good dividends, but let's look at ARE. Nope, nobody did. So you can look at individual lines here too. I'm going to be sending all these for all the teams to you because you'll use these in your final presentations. The reds and the blues show, oh, what happened here? Hey, here, this is a good decision, that kind of thing. So that'll help you flag what might we want to do next time. Um, why did um, why did EBIT in red team have a problem, or yellow team had a problem? And that's, you can see this is their negative EBIT they had compared to a positive. And then on return on capital employed, there are sometimes everybody gets to a positive number here, and other times some of the teams don't. So it's just again on your CapEx decisions. Let's look at the most important indicator. I'm going to show you all of these are obviously all the decisions that happen through the whole course rather than yours. We'll look at yours in just a second. Let me see, what are we at? Let's look at orders volume. No, let's look at the business lines and let's look at lost orders over inventory. Okay, this is the most important graph you'll get through this entire sim. It's called lost orders over inventory. This is just for low cost. There's a zero line. That means the closer you are to this zero line, the better you have invested supply versus demand. So, and that drives your EBIT 100%. You'll see this in any product, service, business, whatever, but you learn it really painfully and really well here. Because if you, everything above the zero line, where is zero? This is zero. Everything above the zero line is lost, is inventory buildup. It's the opposite. When you have loss over inventory and you do a graph, the denominator becomes the numerator. So we won't get into math, but the above zero blue team had a lot of inventory build, and in the end, they tried an N5 decision, which is totally different. That's why these all diverse on five. But you can see yellow had a problem with lost orders, the whole thing. In other words, they were marketing like crazy. They led in revenue, but they could not make those vehicles. They could not get the CapEx formula right, just like Oracle is about to go under $1 billion. The richest man in the world, Larry Ellison, is about to become the poorest if that dies because of the decisions in operating leverage and not being able to deliver. So you have to be able to deliver these products when you market them. Otherwise, you're wasting. These are all lost orders. You're losing all that. Look at Red Team. And this is the same thing. I mean, this is, you can look at this all different things in different lines because every team picks a different strategy. You might be the leader in image, or you say, we're really going to go for image, or really going to go for family. I wouldn't really go for eco. Some do it with low cost until decision two or three, because you're going to lose money like crazy in eco and low cost, but they are the stars later. Eco takes on as gas prices go up. And you make a model invest in that, but don't make big changes. You can see the variability is the variability in family is always higher. Although blue did really good here and red did pretty good here. Yellow had a ton of lost orders here and then built inventory towards the end. There's your zero line. Everybody came really close to compare where this starts. When you see where it starts off, everybody started really high with a ton of inventory in eco. And that's why they make eco hard for you. And when you see this, you'll see, oh my gosh, and I'm going to post these before the first decision 2 weeks from now. So you'll see the zero line, everybody trended towards it, and yellow kept up pretty well and did well in eco. And nobody's as variable as they were, but blue kind of really lost a lot of orders. You can't look at decision five because there's a special thing that happens with inventory that I'm not going to get into. It's complicated and it makes it really easy. It's a 10-minute decision. But this is what happens. Either you really win or you really lose. Finally, the premier line where everybody makes a ton of money. Everybody, don't look at the final thing, but yellow had problems again on this side, not lost orders, but building a lot of inventory. So they were making a lot of these really cool image cars, but they weren't marketing them. They weren't investing in. They got down what the customers want, but they did not invest in marketing. This is zero, and blue and red did great. I mean, they were almost right on the straight line. In image, they had it down by the end. And you remember the EBIT showed those there was all three positive bars there. So let me jump back to Halo. So now, when we get into the topics, this is really important. Let's go to topic 3. Every this is an instructor input interface, so you won't see what you see, but because I can't jump into the student with your team now. This actually is your team, but let me close this out. Let's go to, let me see if it'll let me do this. Let's go to class. Let me make sure this is us. I got like 5 things going here. All right, let's go to class resources. And let's jump up to, this is what you're going to do to check in CLC for decisions, or actually decision 2. You'll be able to jump into this later. You won't see this. You won't see this. You'll see manage simulation, and you won't see this. We get out of these instructors, and there's grading, and there's all kinds of stuff here. Let's go to, let's start with what I already posted. This is where you started. This is your starting, and you'll see everything's the same here. Everybody's in the same point. And at this point, you're making lots of good EBIT and lots of good positive money here. This is the worst I've ever seen in any course for years, 15 years, whatever. I've never seen eco this bad. Usually it's down here. So you got a real challenge probably with the buildup in inventory in eco. This isn't as bad in low cost as it usually is, so they split the difference. It randomizers, there's a gradient descent and a random walk, so you get a lot of factors going on here. But you can see this is what you inherited, and then you can actually, I posted these too, everybody's the same here, and you can see where are the problems by each team, by each line, and why are those problems there. This is just what you inherited now. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Just do small changes on the sliders to start with, but make sure you iterate when you have your meeting as a team. Try each one that each of you did, and this next week there is no decision. That's again, we're in topic one, two, and three. Topic three is the first decision. Let's see this topic. Let me go back to topic three. So in the first decision, CLC will be configured. So it'll say go to the group. When you go to your group, I can't go to your group because I'm making changes doing chats. This is basically, I would have, this is your interface, so your groups are just being set up now. Let me see if I can't show you. Let's go back. Let's go back to topic three. First of all, let's iterate from this to this. Once those are set up, you'll have a chat in there you can do chat on. Some of the assignments, there's two types of assignments. Benchmark, which means you each have to turn it in, and CLC, which means the whole team turns one in. So you work on it together, come up with that particular question or decision within topic three. And so you'll have here your values and your mission, okay? Work on this as a team, come up with some values, some mission, and then post it in your CLC. That's where that goes, as a team. If you have a benchmark, well, this is Harvard. Whenever it says a decision, you go on Harvard. When you go to the group, you don't do anything there. You go to Harvard, click on the group, and that's where you make your decisions and validate it. And then there might be a third thing. Yes, is this a benchmark? That's a benchmark. So yeah, so you have also a personal value assessment where you have to write a little paper, or maybe a 5-page paper. And if it's something, what you'll see at the end of this course is they do all this stuff on strategy, and they say there's a big secret. I'll just tell you the secret right now. The real secret is it's all really about your own career at the end, your own personal values. So what they do is they pretend you're running a business, and as you do the SMART goals, the SWOT goals, all those goals, they turn it around at the end, decision 7 and 8, and you get to the biggest part of your grade by talking about what? Yourself. How did the sim teach me how I should have values? How did it teach me I should plan my day? And so you get personal values. It's also a Christian school, so let's keep in mind that, there's divine qualities and all that kind of stuff that we want to be ethical about. So you have, if you have to do this as a benchmark, you have your choice. You want to do it yourself, turn it in. If you decide to do it as a team, which many teams do if they're really clicking, you take page 1, 2, 3, then you make the whole thing, you do 90%, put it all together, and each one you add a paragraph about some of your personal stuff. So um, don't stress over, there's two exams. There's a benchmark exam and there's a midterm. You cannot study for those. If you slept through accounting, you probably won't get all 25 points. You can get 0 on both tests and get an easy A in this class. So don't sweat the exams, okay? Everybody's also, what about this? What about that, coach? Like, don't worry about it. If you remember Diane, that debits increase assets, but not equity, then you'll get some T accounts right. But a lot of them on, especially the midterm, the one that tests the final course you have to take to pass to get your bachelor's, the cornerstone capstone exam, it's still only 25 points, but it's the breadth of everything you learn through all the courses. And to be honest with you, there are 2 answers that are tough, and of the 4, 2 are ridiculous. So you can get it down, flip a coin, and get that, and still get 15 points. And even if you get a 0, you can still get in the class. Don't sweat those exams like you have to study. Same thing. Don't forget the resources up here. You're going to find that there's a logbook and other things you're going to need as a team. And it's not the required readings, references, all that APA stuff. We want business language. We're teaching business language here, not scholarly, even though I value scholarly and it's important. So APA 7 is not required. You don't have to spend your time on Halo trying to make a hanging indent work. It's like, it's not going to do it anyway. So yes, if you want to do a reference and you have that kind of heart and soul, do it. But you can reference Hit Ireland, our own strategy guide if you want, or just go from your personal experience. Personal experience is of high value. If you found something in your own business life and you say, hey, I've noticed this, I want to get into mergers and acquisitions. We do not, when you get to mergers and acquisitions, topic 5, you Everybody says, oh my gosh, should we merge with red teams? Should we merge with blue teams? There is no merger in the 8-week class. So you see in all the materials will say you can do an international deal, you can put a plant here, all that. That's not here. There's no way you're going to turn around a recession or do a merger with a five decision. And we can go from 3 to 5 at the most in an 8-week course. They have 8 decisions in a 10-week course. So there's time to merge. You have to learn mergers. You have to look at the finance and that stuff. But you do a pseudo merger. What would happen if we merge with red team and then do a paper together on it, kind of on the merger? Or you can work as a team and say, let's just pretend we're putting Tesla together with Ford. And I don't want to see a bunch of advanced, what happens to the beta of these two stocks. I don't expect MBA stuff here. So just do the basic ratios, and that's what you'll find your board uses. If you're a CEO of a $1.5 billion company, you go to a board, they don't want to hear that you're like, they want to have you've hired people that can show you the beta and tell what's going on with the stock and give you the headlines. They don't expect you to be sitting there on your TI-84 figuring out the next present value of somebody else's stock. So this is high level CEO stuff, decisions on marketing, especially learning what the customers want, and then comparing to the competition. Now, how are you going to make decision one? We're almost out of time here. How are you going to make decision one when you don't even know what your competitors are doing yet? Well, roll the dice. Just don't do too big of changes, or you'll really have to keep trying to recover from that. So if it's at a 4, then move it. Move it like beyond the 4, but not so much beyond the 4. All right, there we are. Got all of 3 or 4 minutes left. I expect no questions, but if anybody has questions, I'm here to ask. Obviously, this class is completely driven with texting. I've told you this before, and I'm serious about it. I'm not a teacher. I'm a colleague, and I'm a tutor. So a lot of my work that I do out there is tutoring as well as teaching, and I'm one-on-one with any of you who need it. If you're having issues, message me, text me, and we'll try to work together on whatever issues you're having. Whether it's like, hey, I'm having a problem with work, or I'm having a problem, and my team doesn't like me because I did this. Whatever it is, we'll get it together. By the end, you guys will be clicking. I have teams that years later are still, I just heard from a 3 year ago teammate that are actually helping each other with their careers and have become friends. You'll see you start out kind of serious, hi, how you doing? And by the time you get in, there's a lot of laughter and like, oh man, we sure blew that, or wow, look at we knocked them out of the court. A lot of fun stuff here. Everybody's like texting pictures of their kids and dogs and cats, and I will too. But the teamwork on this is really important. It's like the key to the sim. And results, yeah, results are also important, but working together is important. And working remote and still making it work and work on something like a common interface like this is challenging, but I try to make it as unchallenging as possible with all the other stuff in this course because I know we're all busy working adults. So you have to do your 6 posts. So if you got to do 3 today to get up to the 6 so you don't lose 20 points, do it. I mean, you already got an extra 20 points for showing up, but um, and if you're watching this, text me and tell me what you saw, and I'll give you 20 points. So, and I'll also do that. We are very unconventional here. If you say, I wasn't able to get to this, um, but I did watch this video, I believe you, and I'll give you points for that. I don't think people are going to be fibbing. So, yeah, if you took more time to do something else, you should get credit for it. And I can't credit you at Harvard, but you will, of course, in the 80, 90s, 160, 200 points you'll get for the sim and for the peer reviews. But I'll also cut you slack on the other things that we need to turn in because I just want to hear about what's going on with the sim and what you're learning from it. So if you want to use an example and they're saying do all this research, you don't have to spend hours digging up what happened to Tesla. Just say, hey, we made these decisions on Red Team, and that's part of the paper. So, or whatever the deliverable is. So that is about all I have to say, taking up too much of your time on a Saturday. So God bless you all, and I will see you on our text groups. This is the last all class Zoom, the first and last. And all the rest of your Zooms or Discords or however you're organizing your texts are up to your own teams to organize. I'll jump in and out of the text to help you, or if somebody's going to make a decision that will actually kill you, I'll do some correction. But keep reading announcements. Because if I have a really active, aggressive, strong, calls me every day validator, and I'm giving them all kinds of tips. I can't do that for yellow team and not for red and blue. So I will post any of the insights that aren't specific to them on announcements. So you all get the value of any advice that anybody else is asking for on the other teams. Or I'll post it, or also I'll post it in Halo into questions and announcements, and you can just reply to it. Says, "Oh, good news, we tried this," and then you get credit for the decision for the decision response that week. And if it sounds like unfair, well, I can only do a sentence or two. Why is that counted? It's because you're working your butts off in in the teams and the groups, and you should get credit for that. But we can't give you credit at Harvard other than those points. So it does go to the rest of the course, and Halo and discussion questions and your answer to those discussion questions. And as you do more decisions, there'll be a lot more for you to talk about. Again, week two, binge watch. Don't get too excited about what's in that topic too as much as do the form with a 5-minute meeting or a text group, and the validator can say, okay, I posted that on CLC. It'll be available Monday. The CLC will be all configured for you and your groups. You can use the chat there if you want. There's a chat in CLC, but it's not how remote works. If you want to use it, if you don't. You got to drop the form in the Dropbox if it's a CLC form, but benchmarks just get put into Halo regularly either as the same paper everyone did, and don't worry about similarities. We understand that if you worked on it together, you did. Or if you want to do it individually, it's still benchmarked and it's the individual papers are. You might not get this right now, but you'll keep asking and everybody will educate everybody else. And if somebody calls me and I have an hour-long conversation with a validator or even a member, they'll give that back. My one thing is if you want to call me and do a lot of talk, tell the rest of your team this because I don't know only one person carrying all the load. And also cut your validator slack. Don't ask your validator to do everything. They are my interface, but they're not there to do everyone else's work. And sometimes the team decides they don't even get a card line. We'll take the 4 card lines. You do the validation, and by the way, you be the CFO. You know, you'll see each other's background, and somebody will say, "I'm really good at numbers," and say, "Okay, you're our CFO. Help crunch some of these operating leverages things." So, without further ado, time is over. God bless you all. Have a great Saturday and enjoy your families, and we'll see you in Halo. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thank you, guys.